And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vassell.
Hey folks, Tom Vassell.
Z Garcia.
And today we're taking a look at Letter Tycoon. Now, Letter Tycoon, in my opinion, has some really cool graphics on the cover.
It does. It's got a really interesting color palette, very cool graphic design. It's an eye-catcher.
Which is good because the name didn't pull me in.
Right.
It's like another word game, Letter Tycoon. So that brings me in. The question is, it's a word game. But before we get into this, where do you stand on word games? Is it a genre you like a lot?
It's a genre I do not typically like a lot.
Okay.
I own 2 word games out of many hundreds of games.
Yeah, I like a few word games, but I'm always wary because of what I call the Scrabble problem, which is where people are making 2-letter words, they have to memorize that, or someone with this incredibly great word memory will just destroy you.
Right.
How does this one fare under that scrutiny? Find out. At the beginning of the game, you're going to have a deck full of letter cards, and these letter cards will be here. You're going to have 3 face up in the middle of the table. This is called the community pool. Each player is going to get a handful of 7 of them, 7 letters, just like Scrabble. But you basically have 10 because you can use the 3 in the middle. You'll have some coins over here. These are going to be money that you can buy things. Stock are basically points that you get that will stay with you to the end of the game. And over here are patents. You'll notice here that there's a patent for each letter. Each letter has a different cost. The vowels are marked in a different color just so you know which ones they are. And the ones that are yellow with a green lettering on them, they have special powers. So on your turn, you have 2 options. One, you can discard as many cards as you want from your hand and draw new ones. That rarely happens. Usually you'll look at the letters that you have and try to make some word that involves both them and or the cards in the middle. So let's say I take a look at these letters and I make the following word. So I take W-I-N-D from my hand and then I add the Y from the middle and that becomes the word windy. So then I look at the scoring chart here and I see that I've made a 5-letter word, so that gives me $3. I don't get any stock. If I had made a 6 or 7-letter word, I would get some stock besides the letters. So I'll take my money and then I am allowed to buy a stock of one of the letters in the word. I only have $3 right now, but if I had saved money, maybe I'd have more. But I could buy the W stock or the Y stock. So I'm like, I'll buy the Y stock. So that costs $3. I put that in front of me, and anytime someone else uses a Y in a word ever, I get $1. So when you buy stocks, you're going to be getting money from other people using letters. So you might consider, buying the S if you can afford it because it's going to be used in a lot of words, or the E. But then again, the E stock is worth 10. Now, some of the stocks give you special abilities. Like if you buy the Z stock, you always get a free S at the end of your words. X, you can use 1-letter card twice. The V, you can make 2 words instead of 1. If you have the Q, you can replace a card when you start your turn. The K, if your word has only 1 vowel, you can double the amount of money that you get from it. For J, you earn double if vowels are at least half your word. And B, you earn double if your word begins and ends in a vowel. The game will continue until a certain score is reached. That score is determined by the number of players. So let's say it's a 5-player game. The first person to get to $21 in patents, so you add together all your patents, the first person who gets $21 worth will end the game, and you have to have at least 3 patents. You have to end the game. Players will then add up the money value of their patents and their money and their stocks, and whoever has the most money is the winner of the game. All right, well, what'd you think?
I like this one actually quite a bit. Especially, again, I'm not a big word game guy, but this is one I was a fan of. I liked it because, well, the graphic design certainly helps, but the style of play is interesting, and I love the idea of buying those cards, like owning stock in the letter. It's your letter now. People have to get paid for that letter. Some of the letters give you the powers. It's really interesting. I think it takes a typically Euro game idea and then jams it into a word game. A lot like a game called, Paperbag did for deck building. Deck building with words. This is sort of like stock management a little bit with words, and I think it's successful. I think
Ooh, that's
it's really
a good idea.
interesting.
I'm going to make area control with words.
Yeah.
All right. We shouldn't laugh because you never know. And I agree with Z. The combo's good. Now, it doesn't hurt the game at all that I think the graphic design is like A+.
Yeah.
All the cards look good. They have this nice look to them. The wooden pieces are
Great.
high quality.
Great.
It just feels good to play. I probably someone who's better at making words will still do better. But there's ways to work around that. You know, I bought an S. So now as he's sitting there and he has two of them in his hand, he has a word with two S's, but he's thinking, I don't want to give Tom $2. So
Right.
he has to decide whether the word he makes is worth giving me stuff.
Right.
Special power is also a really cool thing. I wonder if they might be too powerful for their cost, because otherwise I think they're almost you should buy a special power the first chance you get.
Right.
Because they are really that good.
And there's not that many either, right? So, like, not every single letter has a power, or even remotely.
No, but like for example, the one that lets you add an S at the end of every word.
That's powerful.
That's like free money.
Yeah.
So if you can buy it, you should.
Right, but everybody knows that going into the game. So
Right.
It's not really that big of a deal, I think. The game has a nice length to it also. So even if you couldn't snag one of those special letters and you feel like you're falling behind, the game's very short. It's a quick game, really. So it shouldn't be an issue. I think it's a really neat game. I mean, I'm a fan of it, and that's high praise coming from me when I typically would avoid a game like this. This is a game I would seek out and play if it's getting played.
Yeah, I agree. I think I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I enjoyed it as much as Paperback, but it takes a concept of making words and makes it really fun. This is the kind of game that my wife would really enjoy, but at the same time, I wouldn't sit there and go, another word game. Ooh, we're doing stock market. You know, it's kind of a mix. It's a mixing of two things that comes out better on both sides. Because you're not a big stock market guy either.
No, I agree with you. I think this combines two genres I'm not a fan of and gives me a game I like better than most of the stuff in those two genres.
So there you go. Letter Tycoon. Dice Tower Judgment. Excellent.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!